Hello everyone, Fiminelli here. Hope you all are having a wonderful day so far. Please excuse the ghetto background and my messy hair. I'm in the middle of cleaning my room at the moment, so please bear with me. Now the topic for this video is going to be the world famous studio tour at Universal Studios Hollywood and how much that attraction means to me. I've always had a fascination for theme parks, and of course that included Universal, ever since I was like 3 or 4 years old. Sometimes when my family had no plans and we were all bored, one of them just decided, you know what, let's just go to Universal for the day. So we would always take the train all the way to Universal City and just go to the park and go on all the rides, take pictures with all the mascots. It was honestly really exciting. Some of my earliest childhood memories were from the Universal Park. And of course, I was like 3 or 4 years old, so obviously the memories are a little bit hazy. But I just remember images of like going through the Back to the Future ride and flying through the clock tower and having a giant dinosaur come at you. I also remember being terrified of all the spiders coming out at you in 3D in the Shrek 4D ride. And of course, a couple of the core memories that I made were from the studio tour. The main one I specifically remember was in the OG King Kong attraction. I just remember a news chopper like coming down with engulfed in flames, and then as the tram would move on the right, we would see the giant King Kong animatronic with like its glowing red eyes. And as a kid, that was pretty terrifying, but like looking back at it now, it was honestly really exciting. Light years better than the 360 3D attraction we have now. So throughout my whole childhood, I've always loved going to the Universal Park, and that love obviously has never changed. It has not left. So I think it's safe to say that Universal Studios holds a special place in my heart. And if you were to ask me what my favorite ride in the Universal Park is, my answer will always be the studio tour. Now, I'm a big movie guy, which is partially why I like the studio tour so much. I don't think there's any other attraction in the entire world that's made specifically for movie lovers more than the studio tour. So basically the whole point of this video is for me to explain my love for the studio tour, why it's my personal favorite attraction, and I'm also going to share with you guys my first experience with the 60th anniversary edition of the tour. So I'm going to show you guys some footage that I took from the first time I went, and as I share my thoughts on my overall experience. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the merch. It's really cool. I like the vintage look for some of the pins and the shirts and other accessories. I'm not a big popcorn bucket guy, but the Woody Woodpecker bucket was pretty nice. And yeah, honestly, it was nothing really too amazing, but I did like the overall aesthetic. I only bought the long sleeve shirt, as you can see, it's kind of like a baseball tee with like the tram logo and stuff. But yeah, overall, I give the merch like a solid 6 or 7 out of 10. As I approached the front gate, right off the bat, they were like super festive as there were banners basically everywhere, including the actual gates under the arch. When I entered, the first thing I wanted to do was check out all the food options they had at Halloween Dine. It was typical Universal sandwiches, just with fancier ingredients this time around. They did have funnel cakes and other cool desserts, which was nice. I ended up getting the barbecue brisket sandwich, and here's some footage of me trying it. Alright, so we out here. I got the, oh my gosh, this is the barbecue brisket sandwich. It has brisket, also like a barbecue aioli kind of mustard, mayo kind of thing with pickles. And I got a coleslaw on the side as well. It has a lot of meat. Pause. Uh, Legit food review. Let's see how it tastes. Okay, that was really delicious. Really good. The pickles really complement the whole thing. Like, I love pickles. I don't know about y'all, but I love pickles. The brisket is really good, as well as the mayo. Like, I feel like every ingredient that's in this sandwich just complements each other like so well to make such a really good sandwich. If you ever come to the park, definitely check out the barbecue brisket sandwich. It's exclusive only around the 60th anniversary studio tour event. Highly recommend. Shouts out to the homie Woody Woodpecker, who I'm about to devour real quick. Nom nom nom. So after that, I still had some time to kill until my reservation came out, which was at 6. So I just, explored the park and did some rides. And as I noticed, I was walking around through the park, I was exploring, and I saw like some other areas of the park were celebrating the 60th anniversary of the tour as well. There was like a banner in Friend Street, and the Cinnabon stand. were Pets Places. They even dressed it up as like an OG tram tour car, which I thought was really cute. So it was only 15 minutes before 6 where I started to line up at the studio tour entrance. And already there was a lot of people, fellow cast members that were also trying to go through the experience. So once the line finally started moving, we were going down the escalators. I noticed they updated the banner when you first walk in through the escalators. Now, aside from the really cool and cute artwork, my first thought was, yay, no more Jimmy Fallon. As all of us started to make our way through the actual line queue, I saw Doc Brown, just walking around, and which I thought was really cool. But unfortunately, from my tour, we didn't go through the Hill Valley areas, and we didn't see him or the DeLorean in that area. But more on the actual tour a little bit later. First, I have a cool, funny story to share with y'all. So pretty much I and everyone else around me was hoping to get on the OG Glamour tram, which is, the one with the red and white stripes and the OG logo. And we actually saw that tram pull up to the loading area closer to the hillside. We started to get excited, but then we saw the regular tram cars pull up closer to us, and everyone just collectively groaned, like, oh man, like we all thought we were getting blue balled, but then the cars were still moving, and then they just completely left. Then the loaders gave us all the go to sit in the Glamour tour. And it was like some of us sighed in relief, others even cheered. It was really cool, it was really funny. So after everyone was seated, the tour begins, and just when I thought I could escape Mr. Jimmy Fallon, he comes out in a new video celebrating the anniversary and even dressing for the occasion. So at first the tour begins like how it's always been, we go through the front lot and then we see all the different sound stages. And then right before we go to the King Kong attraction, the guide actually takes the time to acknowledge the train that's on the collapsing bridge. Because like basically the whole point of like this whole tour is like showing us the history of not only the backlot, not only like the movie studio, but the actual tour attraction itself. So our guy was talking about the old collapsing bridge and the train that would come at guests. Part of me was still kind of hoping it was somehow part of the attraction, both the train and the bridges, but like at least they acknowledged it. After that, we do King Kong, which just usual typical King Kong, and then right after we get out of King Kong, we have a video of Jack Black, who was an actor in the Peter Jackson King Kong movie, and he would talk about the OG King Kong attraction, the one that I remember, the one that scared me as a kid. And honestly, that OG Kong attraction is just so timeless. Like nothing is gonna beat like a tangible like animatronic coming at you. That's just a lot more exciting than seeing a bunch of dim screens that are all blurry, even with the 3D glasses. And what makes that attraction even more outdated is that like that's not even the most relevant version of Kong. That the most relevant version of Kong is in the Godzilla vs Kong movies. But like honestly, that like the whole 360 3D attraction is like a whole different video in itself. I'm going on a tangent. I'm sorry. So like I mentioned earlier, we didn't go to the Hill Valley area, so we didn't see Doc Brown or the DeLorean. Sad. But after the New York Street, we go to Little Europe, or as I jokingly like to call it, the home of the good place. I know it's most famously known for the Universal Monsters films, but like I always jokingly call it the good place area. And after that, we go through the new and improved Earthquake attraction. Now I know the Earthquake attraction right now is going through some technical difficulties. Some people go through it and like enjoy it like how it is, which is okay. And then other people, they actually drive through it, but they don't get any motion. They don't get any actual earthquake action. Some people just like entirely miss the earthquake attraction altogether because like they're trying to fix it still. Luckily, when I went, everything was working as intended. Fun fact about this new and improved earthquake: the tour guide explained to us that they actually went to real earthquake experts to simulate a real life earthquake. So it wasn't like over the top like the OG one. Like in this new version, it's a lot more realistic. It's a lot more grounded. So like it's more accurate portrayal of an actual like earthquake, which I thought was pretty interesting. And then of course you got the train and you got the truck from like the top level falling, and then of course you got how all the water, let's get out of here, the water main just broke, and then like it's flooding everywhere. And I noticed they tweaked some of the sound design and like it feels more real. Like I said, like they try to go for a more like accurate, realistic approach to an earthquake, and I think they did a pretty good job with that. And then after earthquake, of course, we see the homie Bruce, aka the shark from Jaws. Just doing his thing. They didn't really change much around that area, but it was really cool. Just seeing the shark again. One thing I forgot to mention, our tour route was actually a lot different from what it usually is. So, after you escape King Kong, you usually go through the picture cars and then you go through like the little Jurassic Park area. And then after that, you go to Little Mexico and then where you see the Flash Flood. And then you go through Six Point, Texas and yada, yada, yada. Our route was a little different. So we see the shark from Jaws, in the little Amity Island area. And then we kind of like make our way after that to the Little Mexico section, where the flash flood is, which I thought was pretty interesting. Maybe they were having some like, like technical difficulties, or maybe they were like trying to like spice some routes up. I don't know if this is like the updated route. I'm just talking about my experience. I have gone back since. That was my first and only time so far. So maybe the route is like that, or maybe the route was just like that day. I don't know. So yeah, after King Kong, it was Earthquake, and then it was Jaws, and then it was a Flash Flood, which is different from like the usual route. But speaking of the Flash Flood section, they did have an updated video with the homie Al Roker, just talking about that whole area. And of course, I gotta say this whenever I'm talking about Flash Flood. You can't outrun the wolf, kid! Staying on the subject of them like changing up the route of the actual tour, we actually we don't skip the War of the Worlds section, but we enter through the back. So like you go from like left to right where the plane crash is, but in my experience we went right to left. Just basically backwards. Basically, it was just really interesting seeing the War of the Worlds plane crash shot from like a different angle.
Robbie, get in. Get in.
Then after War of the Worlds, we passed by the Psycho House, which is usually on our left, but this time it was on our right. And then after we do that, we get into like the main like change, like the main thing about the actual 60th anniversary edition of the tour is that we actually get outside of the tour, land on like the Bates Motel area, and then we see like actual props from actual old TV productions and film productions. Apparently, that was a thing back in the first rendition of the tour that people would get off and they'll like take pictures of like old props and set pieces from like the productions that they had there. And apparently they brought it back today, which I thought was really interesting. Yeah, they had a couple photo ops there. They had one big photo op with like the OG Glamour Tram, and then of course they had all the props. The props weren't from anything too big, it was just like a couple of like TV shows that ran for like a couple seasons back in like the 70s and 80s and 90s and stuff. So nothing like from like the Terminator series, or nothing from like like 911 or the Big Bang Theory or stuff like that. Nothing too big. Also, since we were in the Bates Motel area, you gotta have Norman out there. And of course, Norman was just doing his own thing, looking sus, him pulling out his knife every once in a while, just typical Norman stuff. And then right behind the Bates Motel, where the former location of the Whoville sets were, that's when you get 3 photo ops. I believe it's 3 or 5, I forgot. No, it was one where it was like the old Jaws photo op that was in the actual park, but they moved it back to that area. And then the second one is a King Kong one where you're basically like chilling on King Kong's fist, and then like you got King Kong's face in the background. It was really cool. And then you have like another one where it's like Fast and Furious theme, and you can take pictures of 2 cars. Now I could be wrong about this, but the 2 cars in that little photo op area are the 2 dancing cars from the old Fast and Furious attraction. Those were the good old days, man. Just 2 cars dancing to Gasolina. Yeah, those were the days, man. But from what I heard, they are updating that whole area to make it Jurassic Park themed, just to fit in with like the actual Jurassic Park area that's right next to it, which I'm really interested to see. I'm really curious to see what that's all about. So when people are done taking their pictures, they usually go to like the loading area just to get picked up by another tram car. Now, sadly, I didn't take any pictures because 1, the lines were way too long, and 2, I went alone. I have no friends. I'm lying, I do have friends. They just none of them have universal passes, so that's why I'm always going alone. Anyways, yeah, so I get back on the tour, and then after that we go to the Jupiter's Claim set, just typical, like Nope stuff. And then of course, you got the epic grand finale of the world famous studio tour, Fast and Furious Supercharged. But they did acknowledge what came before it. For those of you that don't know, what originally was at Fast and Furious was this big spinning tunnel that was themed for the $6 Million Man. It was particularly based on an episode where he fights like a weird Yeti, and like this tunnel is like spinning around, and they utilized that set as like the grand finale of the tour. And ever since then, it's gone through like a bunch of refurbishments. I remember at one point, I do remember this specifically, it was themed after Brendan Fraser's The Mummy. So like it would be like all dark, and then you would just hear like air compressors like shooting at you, replicating like beetles coming at you, which was pretty intense. But what it is now is the attraction that we all know and love, Fast and Furious Supercharged. Now, I am curious, are they going to keep it supercharged after the brand new coaster opens, or are they going to change it into something else? Are we going to have like another 360 3D attraction similar to like King Kong, or are we going to have like entirely different new attraction, or are we going to have an attraction similar to like, the old $6 million tunnel? So many questions I got for that little section, and I can't wait to see what they come up with. As long as they get rid of CGI Vin Diesel dangling from a helicopter, I'm good. I'd be content. And yeah, that's pretty much the tour. It wraps up with like another video from Jimmy Fallon, like thanking all the hardworking people that put all these like productions together, and also they were like he was thanking all the like the drivers and all the potential guys that took place around the studio. Sadly, he didn't sing "Have a Tramtastic Day," which sadness, more sadness, but like that's okay, it's fine. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to this new 60th anniversary edition. And I gotta say, I'm gonna be completely honest with y'all. For as much hype as Universal created for the 60th anniversary, for all the banners that they put up in front of the park, for all the banners they put out like in the billboards they put out in City Walk, for all the like merchandise that they were giving out, all the booths, all the like, I was expecting like a brand new and improved like studio tour, something like like reinventing, revolutionary, but it was more or less the same thing except for a couple photo ops and a couple of cool interactions and a couple of updated videos. Yeah, I honestly think Universal overhyped it a bit too much. Now, was it a letdown? No, I wouldn't really consider it a letdown. I did like the new additions that they had. I like the new Earthquake. I like the new updated videos. One little minor thing that I did notice throughout the whole guide is that not only did they refurbish like some of the attractions, most notably Earthquake, but they actually like even refurbished some of the sets that they had. Like I remember specifically Six Point Texas. I remember I would always go and like it would show its cracks and stuff, which is understandable, because those sets were built in like the 20s and 30s and stuff. But when I went on this new 60th anniversary tour, they actually patched up some of the cracks and stuff. It looked kind of brand new. It looked like they kind of cleaned it up, gave some stuff, new paint jobs and stuff for not only Six Point Texas, but for stuff like Little Europe and Little Mexico. And overall, I just really appreciate Universal for like trying to do something new with the studio tour. Just like giving it a little bit of a facelift. It wasn't like the craziest facelift, but at least they did something. I applaud them for like at least trying to like do something with it. Universal really didn't have to do any of this, but they did, and I do appreciate them for that. I do appreciate that they're trying to honor their roots. They're actually trying to do something for the attraction that made them what they are today. If you guys want to check out the new studio tour for yourselves, you can definitely do so all throughout the summer. I think the last day is August 11th, so you have until August 11th to check out all the new things that they added for the studio tour. I am very curious to see what in particular is going to stay and what's going to go, and it's only going to be available for this 60th anniversary event. Is it going to go back to normal, or like are all the new videos with Al Roker and Jimmy Fallon and Jack Black are going to be removed altogether after August 11th? Are we still going to be able to get out of the tram tour and like take pictures and stuff? I mean, I'm assuming that's probably going to go along with the actual anniversary event because they have the Terror Tram to work on. But other than that, yeah, I'm actually really curious to see what the state of the studio tour is going to be like after this whole 60th event is going to be over. And yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. If you like what you saw, go ahead and click the like button. If you want to see more content like this, if you want to see more theme park content, if you want to see more Halloween Horror Nights content, I know our first couple announcements are going to be coming pretty soon. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel. If you guys been through the new studio tour, let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Once again, if you stuck around to the end, thank you so much for watching, and I hope all of you guys have a great summer.